So Wendy Williams, this filter is from Wendy because she loves purple, is in the hospital. And originally they had said that she was in the hospital because she had been diagnosed with COVID. And then that changed when gossip presented itself in the Sun that actually she had been taken from her apartment for a psychiatric analysis at a New York hospital. And so it wasn't COVID related. But I mean, how many times do we have to see poor Wendy Williams go public and have erratic behavior or like pass out? I think she's passed out twice on her show in like the last 6 years. And she's hosted New Year's events in Miami where like I watch them because I am in Miami, and you know, she appears to be on something. Her eyes are like, you know, this, and she's, you know, doing this with her mouth and all this stuff, and, you know, dry. And anyway, all I know is, you know, I've had my fair experiences with substances in my lifetime, and I'm just going to say that to me, it appeared that she was on something. And the fact that she's doing that publicly when she's hosting a big event or she's on her show shows that she needs some help. That's a cry for help. Like, you know, do people party in Hollywood and, you know, in New York? Yes, they do. Absolutely. At all ages. But generally they don't do it when they're about to go on television or shoot their TV show or host something. So I just feel like that's a bit of a cry for help. So the Sun, I guess, their source says that Wendy Williams has no boyfriend. Her mom just passed away and she's really lonely. And so they blame that as some of the reasons she might be potentially self-medicating, if that is true. Add to that, she has a ton of health issues like Graves' disease and I think other health issues, honestly, because her thyroid, I think she had an issue with that, she mentioned at some point, and she's got swollen ankles. And, you know, if she's on pharmaceuticals that have been, you know, given to her, those could be not intermixing properly. And then you add to that recreational substances, if ever she does that, even alcohol could be, you know, not a recipe for disaster for someone who's sick, you know, who has medical problems. And then we have COVID on top of it and the flu, right, season. So I just feel like, oh my goodness, somebody needs to step in and be a friend to Wendy Williams. And it needs to be someone from, I think, her production. And not worry about being fired. And just be like, hey, Wendy, I care. And fire me if you want. But we're not reporting, you know, holy moly news here. We're doing gossip. It's not like it's not going to wait for her to just get better. I mean, really. So why this filter? Well, because I think some of Wendy's problems stem from Kevin Hunter, her ex-husband. Now, Kevin Hunter is also the executive producer of the Wendy Williams show. So what I want you to remember is every time she has to go on TV, she has to remember that she's lining Kevin's pockets with money. Now, she was with Kevin for 20 years, and he cheated on her for 15 of the 20, had a side piece. Even to make that worse, she basically found out right before he left her that he had made his mistress pregnant with his child, which they eventually had the baby post Wendy Williams' divorce. But it was all like she was pregnant the whole time at the end of that marriage. Now, he moved to Miami, oddly, and opened a barbershop. So I feel like he sucked all of the life force out of Wendy. So an executive producer generally makes money every time a show is produced or airs and doesn't really have to work for the money. It's like passive income. So can you imagine how much that must kill Wendy as she's killing herself to do the show, right? Every morning, and he's just making money and doing nothing. Well, he's doing something. He's in Miami with his new family in a mansion, in a Ferrari, and an Audi, off, you know, all the work that Wendy has done over the years. Okay, and it's one thing to be an executive producer. It's another thing to have to deliver all that content that she has to deliver in a meaningful, fun way and do the promotions. You know, I mean, this is a tough situation. Like, people need to get how tough this situation is on her. Now, someone who does know how tough this situation is on her is her son. Her son actually assaulted his dad in the parking lot, and originally, I guess the police came and, I don't know, the charges were dropped. But, I mean, it's pretty incredible that Kevin's son with Wendy would feel so angry at his dad. He's 20, by the way, that he would, like, attack his dad in a parking lot. Now, they dropped the charges, and I'm sure his dad understood his anger. But so unfortunate. Not only does the son know that he devastated his mom in this last relationship, but it came out that his dad, Kevin, had cheated on Wendy while she was pregnant with him, with Kevin Jr. Yeah. So while she was, like, going through that, he was cheating. Of course the son is going to want to protect the mom. You know, it's so you guys terrible. Don't know about Wendy Williams' background. Just here's a quick blurb of why she's so impressive, okay? She had a radio show for 20 years that was syndicated. And then the radio show, because it did so well, because she just, like, kept at it, ended up getting an opportunity to become a TV show. And that's what ended up being the Wendy Williams show. And since, she's done stuff on QVC. She's been on Dancing with the Stars. She's had a best-selling book. She's had a show for 13 seasons. Like, it's incredible. And think of the timing of all of this and how difficult that must have been with, you know, as a woman coming up in this environment. Like, she's not the stereotypical blondie that was, you know, on Good Morning America and all this stuff. I mean, she really, against all odds, just killed it. I have so much respect for her professionally. Before you give Kevin Hunter any credit as the executive producer, I just want you to know he didn't deserve any, because he was called. He was her manager. And that was really his role at the time that this television show came knocking. It wasn't like he got her that gig. It was like they noticed her and called her manager, Kevin, her husband, and he was like, okay, let's do this TV show. So, like, she essentially handed him all of the wealth that he ended up with for the next, like, 20 years of his existence. And no matter what's going on in her life, she has to do it. Like, she can't be like, today I don't want to do it, let's re-record an extra episode. Like, she has to go on stage and do it. Then she leaves the studio at 12:30 or 1 p.m. and then she would attend any meetings that she had in regards to the show, and she would make telephone calls. If she had any interviews that she had to do after the show, she would do them, you know, like, you know, promoting the show or whatever. She would do them then, and then she'd end up going home like 5 o'clock, let's say, or 6 o'clock in the evening, and then start doing it all over again. And taking care of her son, you know, helping him with his homework, doing dinner and everything for everybody, and then go to bed at like 10 o'clock. Might be rehearsals, and she would have to do that, and that would take more time. Anyway, I went on Wendy Williams, and I met her, and she was lovely and so nice, and it was very scary. Like, I want you to know, it's so scary going on a live show. Like, I can't imagine, like, being the host of a live show has got to be so tough. Like, but even being a guest on one was, like, scary. It's just really overwhelming, especially with a full audience. But I remember, I think she expected me to kind of stick to kind of boring, not boring, but like light housewife stuff. And she asked us a question, and I don't know what made me share it, but I had lost a baby. And I was like, Wendy, I just want to say this for other people that might have gone through this, you know? And she could have been, like, annoyed that I didn't just stick to the train of, like, what they were doing, and she didn't. She switched gears right away. She's a pro, and she deserves to get the love and support of everyone at this time, you know? And I really, like, wish I could just call her up and be like, honey, come to Miami and let me just give you a little TLC.